The marble floor felt like ice against Sofia Reyes's knees. She leaned forward, scrubbing a faint smudge with a damp cloth, while polished leather shoes and stiletto heels glided past her without a glance. Laughter and the clink of champagne glasses echoed from a world far above her, a world she had never belonged to. Her black uniform clung to her back, damp with sweat. The air was thick with bleach, expensive perfume, and vintage champagne, a cocktail of scents that made her feel like a ghost under the glow of crystal chandeliers. She couldn't afford a mistake. Not tonight. This was the biggest event of the year at the Leclerc estate, where every surface had to shine and every corner had to be flawless under the scrutiny of the elite. Sofia worked like a machine, yet her heart beat wildly in her chest. And then, silence. The crowd shifted like the tide breaking on the shore, parting down the center as if struck by an unseen current. Sofia didn't need to look up. Every hair on her body stood on edge. She could feel the presence before she saw it. Damien Leclerc had arrived, the widowed billionaire, the man whose smile had died with his wife Isabel. Sofia's hand trembled slightly as she kept scrubbing. She'd heard the rumors. Everyone on the staff had. But what she didn't know was that across the room, his gaze was fixed entirely on her, the girl the world had trained itself to ignore. Sofia bent even lower, trying to finish quickly, but in her haste, her elbow nudged the metal bucket, tipping it sideways. Water splashed across the pristine floor like a slap in the silence, creating a shimmering puddle that mirrored the glow of the chandelier above. "No, please no," she whispered, frantically pressing the cloth against the spreading wetness. Her heart pounded, her damp fingers trembled. Then, footsteps. Measured. Heavy. Commanding. She didn't dare look up. She had drawn attention. She was about to be scolded, or worse, humiliated, in front of the city's most powerful guests. "Are you all right?" The question came in a voice rich and deep, textured like aged wood and old whiskey. Sofia looked up and saw him. Damien Leclerc stood just a few feet away, close enough for her to catch the scent of his cologne, clean and understated, with a hint of leather from his tailored coat. His storm-gray eyes were unreadable, but not unkind. "Yes, sir," she stammered, trying to back away, but her foot slipped slightly on the wet floor, and that's when he reached out. "Let me help you." His tone was softer now, almost gentle, yet it carried a weight that made her heart jump. Sofia looked at his hand. Large, clean, with neatly trimmed nails. A hand that had likely never touched bleach or scrubbed a floor. Her own were rough, reddened, the skin around her knuckles raw. She hesitated. And then, as if a small, defiant part of her refused to stay bowed any longer, Sofia placed her hand in his. The world stilled. The music, the laughter, the prying eyes, they all vanished. There was only this moment. A hand extended and a heart brave enough to take it. The party was over. Laughter had faded into distant echoes along the carpeted halls. Sofia moved quietly, her footsteps muffled against the polished wooden floors, each one like the final note of a melancholy song. She had one task left: return the cleaning supplies to the storage cabinet behind the kitchen. The door clicked shut behind her, enclosing her in a familiar stillness. There was no one here, only the yellow glow of a flickering tube light and the sharp clink of metal as she set down the empty bucket. Late night, for someone who wasn't invited. The voice startled her. She dropped the bucket. It clattered across the tiled floor like gunfire in the silence. Damien Leclerc stood in the doorway. His jacket was gone, tie loosened, the top two buttons of his shirt undone. He didn't look like a billionaire now, more like a man who had just walked out of a storm. Still damp, still wounded. "Mr. Leclerc." Sofia bent to retrieve the bucket, but he stepped forward. "Damien," he interrupted gently. "At this hour, I'd rather just be Damien." She hesitated. The bucket now sat between them like a fragile barrier. He crouched down, his fingers brushing hers as they both reached for it. The silence between them thickened like mist. Sofia could feel her own heartbeat, not from fear, but from something else entirely. For the first time, she felt seen. He didn't speak, she didn't ask, but something had shifted. In the quiet after the party, between two people from different worlds, an invisible thread had begun to form, delicate but real. Sophia didn't know what to say. No one had ever stayed after a party just to speak with her, certainly not Damien Leclerc. "And are you always this quiet?" he asked, settling onto a wooden stool beside the pantry. She gripped the hem of her uniform. "I just try not to disturb anyone." Damien smiled, a faint smile, like sunlight brushing the surface of a still lake. "Your silence has never disturbed me. In fact, it intrigued me." Another pause. Sophia was about to bow and excuse herself when he reached into the inside pocket of his coat and pulled out a cream-colored envelope. He placed it on the counter like it was something delicate, precious. "There's a smaller gathering tomorrow night, more private. I'd like you to come." She looked up, eyes wide. I'm not really someone who belongs at events like that." "Not to serve," he said softly, but firmly, "to attend, as yourself." Sophia stared at the envelope, caught between confusion and disbelief. A part of her thought, maybe this is a whim, a moment of pity, but there was nothing performative in his eyes, no condescension, only something sincere. "No pressure," he said as he stood, "just an invitation to be seen, truly." And then he walked away, leaving Sophia standing still, her fingers trembling as they hovered over the envelope. For the first time in her life, she had been invited, not as a worker, but as a person. That evening, in their tiny apartment, Sophia's mother gently touched the edge of the dress that had arrived in a large, elegant box. Soft teal, luxurious, far too beautiful for Sophia to believe it was real. "Mama, what if this is just some kind of joke?" she whispered. The frail woman in the wheelchair squeezed her daughter's hand. "People don't send dresses like this for jokes, querida. Go, just once. Let yourself be seen." The pearl-toned silk dress hugged Sophia's frame as if it had been stitched just for her. When she stepped into the grand hall, a hush rippled beneath the buzz of conversation. Some glanced with curiosity, others stared with veiled disdain. She felt like a stranger among royalty, despite the elegance of the gown, despite the flawless makeup. But when Damien Leclerc saw her, the world fell silent once more. He was in mid-conversation with a group of guests, but the moment their eyes met, he excused himself and moved toward her, each step deliberate, as though the room parted to let him through. "You came," he said, his voice carrying something more than surprise. "I was afraid you wouldn't." "So was I," Sophia replied softly, surprising even herself with the honesty. The music began, slow, melodic. Damien extended his hand. "Would you dance with me?" Sophia hesitated, blushing. I don't know how to dance like these people." "Then I'll teach you," he said, still holding his hand out. "Feel the music. Don't think." His arm slipped around her waist, not possessive, not rushed, just close enough for her to stop feeling alone in a room full of strangers. They began to move. At first, Sophia was stiff, terrified of stumbling, but Damien led with an uncanny certainty. Each step fell into rhythm, each breath synchronized, and gradually she let go, allowing the music to carry her. "Everyone's watching," she whispered. "Let them," Damien replied, drawing her closer. "Let them see what I see." "And what do you see?" He studied her face like it was something precious. "I see honesty in a world of masks. I see strength where others see weakness." His words lingered between them, fragile, powerful. Then the music shifted. A new melody filled the room, haunting, familiar. This was her favorite song, Damien murmured. Sophia knew he meant Isabel. Sophia began to pull away, but Damien's arm gently held her in place. "Don't run," he said. It wasn't a command, it was a plea. "Not when I'm finally starting to feel something beyond the pain. Then what am I? She asked before she could stop herself. Am I just anesthesia for your grief? Damien's storm gray eyes dimmed. You're both the ache and the healing. The music drifted on, but they barely moved now. The world faded around them, leaving only the two of them, suspended in something fragile, intimate. Damien held her gaze, then whispered, There's something I want to show you. He led her out of the ballroom, down a corridor Sophia had cleaned countless times but never walked as a guest. They stopped before a dark wooden door, one that had always been locked. This was Isabel's and my private study, he said, pulling a key from his coat pocket. As the door creaked open, a rush of old lavender, paper, and memory filled the air. The room felt frozen in time. Photos of Isabel covered the walls, laughing, dancing, living. Above the fireplace hung a large oil painting, Isabel from behind, facing the ocean, her hair caught in the wind. In the far distance, the silhouette of a yacht blurred on the horizon. I painted it after she died, Damien said, his voice thick. It was the last time I saw her alive. Sophia's throat tightened. Why are you showing me this? Because I need you to understand. He stepped closer, his eyes heavy with truth. You're not a replacement, not a second chance. You are... But the words caught in his throat as a sharp noise interrupted them. The door flung open. A woman stood in the frame, her face pale with fury. How dare you? Catherine Leclerc's voice cracked like a whip through the room. She strode inside, her eyes locked on Sophia as if she were an intruder desecrating sacred ground. How dare you bring a maid into the space that once belonged to Isabel? Catherine, not now, Damien said, his voice colder, harder. Not now! Never! She hissed, pointing a trembling finger at Sophia. She doesn't belong here. She's using you, your grief, your guilt, to climb where she shouldn't. Sophia took a step back, each word hitting her like a blow to the chest. No, Damien replied, stepping forward to shield her. She's the only one who's made me feel human again. Human? Catherine spat. She's a cleaner, a social climber, a shadow, nothing more. Then it's that very shadow, Damien said, his eyes sharp as glass, that brought light back to the part of me everyone else forgot. The air thickened, charged with unsaid truths. Catherine stared at him, stunned. Sophia stood still, her body trembling. She had never wanted a confrontation, but for the first time she did not flee. You're tarnishing Isabel's memory, Catherine whispered, her voice shaking with rage. Damien turned and gently took Sophia's hand. No, he said, staring directly at her. I'm saving what's left of myself. After Catherine left, the room fell so quiet that Sophia could hear the thud of her own heartbeat. Damien still held her hand, his grip firm, as if he feared letting go would make her vanish. You didn't have to do that for me, she whispered. Not for you, Damien replied. For me. I've been silent for far too long. He crossed to a table by the window, opened a drawer, and retrieved a small, deep glue velvet box. When he opened it, Sophia's breath caught. A sapphire necklace, delicate, radiant, like something from a dream. This isn't a gift, he said, his voice thick with feeling. It's a promise. Sophia hesitated. I can't accept this. It's too much. Damien stepped closer and gently fastened the necklace around her neck. It doesn't speak to your worth, only to the fact that I see you, clearly enough to never want to lose you. His fingers brushed her skin as he secured the clasp. The touch sent a shiver down her spine, but not from fear. Are you sure? She asked, eyes glistening. You're the first person who's made me want to live again. Not hide, not pretend, just be. Sophia looked up at him, and the words spilled out, as if they'd been waiting all along. I love you. Damien closed his eyes briefly, then opened them, gaze unguarded. He leaned in, his lips meeting hers. A kiss not of urgency or fire, but of acknowledgement. The room held its breath. Even the photographs of Isabel seemed to fade into the background, making space for something new, a love not born of replacement, but of truth. The next morning, just as the sun crested the hills behind the Leclerc estate, Damien's phone began to ring non-stop. Sophia sat on a bench in the quiet garden, fingers brushing the sapphire pendant. The peace shattered when Damien stepped out, tension written across his face. He held out his phone, screen already loaded. "We've made the headlines," he said quietly. Sophia took the device. The title was clear and bold: High Society Scandal, Billionaire Damien Leclerc and the Mysterious Maid. Beneath it, a photo of her dancing, laughing, and the kiss in Isabel's private room. Her throat tightened. They know everything. Damien know what they're told to believe, Damien said firmly. But the truth, we'll tell it ourselves. He pulled out his phone and dialed Julian, his head of communications. "I want an official statement out within the hour. No hiding, no denial. My relationship with Sophia is real, and any further slander will be met with legal action." Sophia looked at him, heart clenching. "You're risking everything for me." Damien turned to her, stepping close. "I'm risking it for the only thing in my life that feels real." Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Enjoy your moment, maid. Damien will see through you soon. See." Sophia gripped the phone tightly, her pulse quickened. Damien's expression softened as he saw the fear in her eyes. "Catherine won't stop," he said, "but you won't face her alone." He took her hand. "We'll face them together. Every scandal, every whisper, every judgment, because the only thing that's real is you and me." Flash bulbs exploded like lightning inside the Grand Imperial's conference hall. Sophia sat beside Damien, their fingers tightly entwined beneath the table, hiding the tremble in her hands. The cream-colored suit Margaret had chosen gave her strength. Elegant, modest, but powerful. Damien stepped forward to the microphone. "We're not here to deny anything," he said, his voice steady. "I love Sophia Reyes. Not in spite of her past, but because that past made her who she is today." Silence filled the room. A female journalist stood. Her tone was sharp but controlled. "There are rumors that Ms. Reyes' father was involved in criminal activity. Is that true?" Damien moved to intervene, but Sophia gently placed her hand over his. She stood, meeting every eye without flinching. "My father was an alcoholic. He abandoned my mother and me when I was 12. My mother has a chronic illness, and I've worked every job I could, from washing dishes and scrubbing floors to caring for the elderly to keep her alive. I'm not ashamed of that. Every callus on my hands is a testament to love, resilience, and the price of dignity." For a long second, the room was silent. Then, one clap, another, and then the whole hall stood, applauding not her status, but her truth. Damien reached for her hand, helping her back into her seat beside him. He looked out over the crowd, gaze unshaken. "Now," he said, "we're going to tell you another truth. The truth about Isabel and what really happened to her." Damien pulled a worn envelope from his jacket. Its edges frayed, the paper yellowed with time. He held it up to the microphone, as if its weight alone could hush the room again. "This is the last letter Isabel wrote to me, but I only read it weeks ago because someone kept it from me." All eyes turned toward Catherine, seated stiffly in the back row. Her face had gone pale. Damien opened the letter. His voice trembled at first, then steadied. "My dearest Damien, if you're reading this, it means I've done the inevitable. I'm sorry for placing a burden on your shoulders that was never meant to be yours. Our marriage was a perfect frame, but I was a painted lie inside it. I'm tired of being who others want me to be. I no longer recognize myself. Mother never allowed me to be me. You tried to love me, and I tried too. But love cannot save someone who doesn't want to stay. I chose the ocean not because I didn't love life, but because I had lost myself long ago. Please don't carry this guilt. Love again, live again, and never let anyone else dictate your happiness. Isabel." His voice cracked at the final line. Sophia placed a steady hand on his shoulder, quiet, grounding. The room fell into stunned silence. Some lowered their heads, others wiped their eyes. Catherine rose suddenly, trembling. I just wanted to protect her name. By hiding the truth? Damien turned to her. By letting me drown in guilt for 2 years? Catherine had no answer. Her silence was louder than any excuse. Damien looked back at Sophia, his eyes still heavy but free. I've lived in silence long enough, he said. Today, because of her, I speak truth. After the press conference, Damien and Sophia didn't return to the estate right away. They wandered through the garden behind the hotel, where the sunset painted the lavender bushes in soft crimson. Sophia slipped off her heels, letting the grass touch her bare feet, grounding her in who she was. Damien stood beside her in silence. A warm stillness enveloped them. No explanations, no defenses. Everything that needed to be said had been said before the world. What remained now was choice. Are you sure? Sophia asked, her gaze fixed on the horizon. After all this, the media, Catherine, Isabel. Damien turned to her, taking her hand. I've lived my whole life for other people's expectations. For the first time, I want to live for what I believe in. Sophia smiled, soft but whole. I'm not a princess, Damien, and I've never needed one, he whispered. I need someone who can stand in the storm. From his pocket, he pulled out a simple ring. No diamonds, just a thin gold band engraved on the inside. To be seen, to be loved. It's not a proposal, Damien said. It's a promise that from this moment on, we walk together. No hiding, no bowing, no fear. Sophia said nothing at first. Then quietly, she extended her hand. As he slid the ring onto her finger, the sun dipped behind the far hills. A golden light bathed them, as if the world itself whispered its blessing. And there they stood, not as billionaire and maid, but as two people who had chosen love, no matter what the world might say. And as the sun dipped behind the hills, they knew this was not an ending, but a beginning.